The music, Gonzalo. Good morning, Dr. Jaime Rivera, Coordinator of the Humanities Faculty. Professor Miguel de Leon, Coordinator of the English School. English professor present here, students and general guests. The organizing committee of these symposiums welcome you all of these academic sessions with the hope it may make you reflect upon the importance of adapting ourselves to what is and to what is coming in the teaching field. Welcome again.
Before we begin,
Words for Professor Rivera.
Muy buenos días, respetados estudiantes que se congregan hoy para dar continuidad a la Semana del Inglés. Magíster Miguel de León, coordinador de la Escuela de Inglés. Magíster Nádila Sanjur, coordinadora del evento académico dentro de la Semana del Inglés. Los respetados conferencistas, el Magíster Gonzalo, amigo, el Magíster Nader, felicitaciones, en compañía también del doctor Lombardo, con el cual también conversamos a primera hora y confirma la asistencia al acto. Para mí es un placer, en calidad de coordinador de la Facultad de Humanidades, darles el saludo de bienvenida y declarar inaugurada académicamente con el inicio de la Semana del Inglés. Yo quisiera expresarles que los temas que la comisión académica dirigida por la profesora Nádila ha tomado para este evento son de vital importancia. Son temas transversales, necesarios para la formación de nosotros en nuestro desarrollo cognitivo. Los temas que los colegas van a desarrollar el día de hoy sobre inteligencia artificial es un tema de primera mano. Deseo que presten mucha atención a lo que los colegas van a informar. Tiene tres sentidos. Las charlas están dirigidas, las comunicaciones están dirigidas en tres sentidos, jóvenes estudiantes. Primero, el profesor Gonzalo dirige la importancia de la inteligencia artificial desde el punto de vista pedagógico. La trascendencia y la importancia, el uso que esto va a tener o que tiene ya actualmente para el desarrollo de nuestras competencias pedagógicas. En un segundo momento, el magíster Nader va a explicar esta herramienta también, pero utilizada para el manejo de la redacción. Redacción que ustedes pueden potenciar con su conocimiento a través de los materiales y métodos que van a utilizar como licenciados en inglés para hacer visible la ciencia. Miren qué interesante, lo repito, para hacer visible la ciencia, que es el objeto de nuestra formación científica en la Universidad de Panamá. Finalmente, cuando tengan la presentación del doctor Lombardo, van a hablar de la inteligencia artificial desde el punto de vista de la redacción científica. Estamos hablando entonces de la importancia de la herramienta para transmitir el conocimiento que por 5 años adquirieron allí. Entonces, también puedo pasar o puedo transmitir con ustedes algo muy importante que estamos viviendo hoy día en la Vicerrectoría de Investigación y Posgrado de la Universidad de Panamá, en calidad de editor jefe de la revista Ciencia de la Vicerrectoría. Actualmente y en este momento es un tema coyuntural porque el software que utilizamos para revisar la cantidad de correspondencia que tiene una redacción científica en los escritos que elaboran los especialistas, este software adquirido recientemente ya detecta, ya logra percatarse si se está redactando el artículo o no con inteligencia artificial. Eso es nuevo. Les estoy pasando una información que apenas tiene 3 semanas. Ya logramos en la Vicerrectoría de Investigación y Posgrado que todo aquel que quiera redactar un artículo utilizando inteligencia artificial, ya lo captamos. Entonces, ahora el reto es mayor. El reto es mayor. Ahora el reto que nosotros tenemos es conocer la herramienta, como se las van a demostrar en este ciclo de conferencias, pero una vez que conocemos la herramienta, ahora hay algo que es superior a la inteligencia artificial. Es el carácter de nosotros como investigadores. Como dijo Alberto Einstein, muchos piensan que una persona muy inteligente se hace un investigador, se hará un gran investigador. Dice Alberto Einstein, no es la inteligencia. Lo que hace un gran investigador es tu carácter. Y ese carácter se define como dedicación. Y esa dedicación y ese carácter está por encima de la inteligencia artificial. Entonces, jóvenes estudiantes, colegas, veamos la inteligencia artificial como una herramienta, pero una herramienta que es complementaria, o sirve para complementar nuestro trabajo, porque el conocimiento humano, la forma como el ser humano interpreta la realidad y la forma como el ser humano pone al servicio de la comunidad su conocimiento científico, eso jamás podrá ser reemplazado por la inteligencia artificial. Un placer estar con ustedes, colegas, jóvenes estudiantes, respetados profesores, y cuenten siempre con un servidor. Muchas gracias.
Now words by Professor Miguel de León.
Voy a escuchar al profesor Miguel de León y después que me retiro porque voy a comisiones de evaluación. Gracias.
Good morning. Welcome to the English Week 2023. Well, first, being blessed by the Lord, letting us celebrate one more year this wonderful event. I give special welcome to first-year students. This, as I understand, this is the first time, your first experience in college life, which is one of the best times in our lives, things that will be remembered. Welcome, Dr. Rivera, coordinator of the School of Humanities of Cruv, Dr. Naila Sanjur, coordinator of Conference Day. So today it is pretty much the most educational day of the English week. Yesterday we had the mass, a beautiful mass. Today we're gonna have Conference Day. We're gonna be enlightened by the different speakers and speeches that we're gonna have today with this relevant topic, which is artificial intelligence, especially related to the positive, to the academic benefits that artificial intelligence gives us. Not just the negative, the cheating parts, which is what people right now are focusing more on. So we have to take advantage of what we get, right? And as Dr. Rivera was saying, so in a positive way, an academic way. So, well, I would like to leave you without inviting you tomorrow. Remember, we're gonna have the fun day tomorrow, which is sports day. And then on Thursdays, we're gonna have academic games right here at the auditorium. Remember that tomorrow, you all have to come in the morning. People from the afternoon come in the morning too. So we're gonna have a big time celebration at the gym with sports, with food. Let's cooperate also with association. Special thank also to Association of English. And finally, we're gonna have movie day, which you are all invited here. So I would like to thank you also to not just Dr. Sanjur, but also all professors that belong to the staff of Conference Day. So, well, with no further ado, we have the speakers. Thank you very much.
Before we begin this event, we would like to thank Mr. Raúl Ábrego, representative of Canto del Llano community, and Mr. Jacinto Serrano, representative of Rodrigo Luque community, for their support in this event. Thank you very much.
Continue with this, we have our first speaker, Magister Gonzalo Cabrera, a specialist in virtual environments and English professor in this school. He will be developing the topic Transforming Languages Education, exploring the frontier of artificial intelligence in English teaching. Professor Cabrera, you will have 25 minutes for your presentation and some others minutes for questions.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Professor Miguel de Leon, coordinator, Professor Nadia Sanjur, coordinator of the committee. Well, it is a pleasure to talk to you about the artificial intelligence. And here we have a quote that Stephen Hawking told us once. So it is to analyze his words first. Success in creating, because we are going to create, in creating artificial intelligence would be the biggest event in the humanity. Why the biggest event in the humanity? Because it is what is coming, is right now, and it's coming for the future. And then, as Professor Rivera and Professor De Leon said before, so it is a complement to our business. And Stephen Hawking was telling this one. Unfortunately, it might be also the last that we are going to learn how to avoid the risk on them, because it is risky too, okay? So we have to learn how to use artificial intelligence in here, because they have a lot of good things and some risk. Well, today I'm going to talk about transforming language education, exploring the frontier of artificial intelligence in English teaching. So starting here, so we have to take into account 7 different details that we are going to show here. First, the artificial intelligence. What is the state of artificial intelligence in the landscape of language education? What is the role of artificial intelligence in language education? Second, how artificial intelligence enhance language learning tools. You as professors and students should know how to use artificial intelligence for learning and teaching. This is very important. Third, what is the natural language that artificial intelligence process in language learning? And 4 in here, so how to adapt learning and personalization. Learning and personalization, how you use artificial intelligence by your own. And then the 5th one here is language education, is how artificial intelligence in language is used to assess. This is very important for professors and students to know the assessment tools that we have or we can use using artificial intelligence. Students can practice before being testing some assessment using artificial intelligence in advance before presenting a test. And this is a good tool to you to have an idea how to be assessed in different courses. 6 is related to the approaches that artificial intelligence have in the basics in the language learning or the language teaching. So it is not just created by a man to use artificial intelligence in here in education. It has a base, a foundation in some approaches that we're going to work in this one. And the last one in here is what will be the future using artificial intelligence and what are the challenges that professors and students should have or should take in the future. These 7 approaches, these 7 details is what we have right now in the language learning in our field in English, okay? And in all areas like the other professors are going to present here. So we have to take into account the last one, challenges. People try to avoid challenges, and artificial intelligence is here to be used. And then we have to open our mind to get the new challenges in our learning styles. So for this, or based in these 7 aspects, we're going to be talking about what is artificial intelligence and the practical use in the English language learning. How to learn using these devices using artificial intelligence. And the first question is, what is artificial intelligence? Well, we have been using artificial intelligence for some years ago. And then one of the definition that we can tell you that artificial intelligence is everything that we use, okay? When we have our smartphone in our hands, or computer, tablet, or other devices. So since the beginning you start texting, and then you have a smart text in your smartphone, you're using artificial intelligence. When you start typing in your computer an essay, writing, you start using artificial intelligence because you have grammar checker in your computer. And then it's developing or working in our life as students. So we can interpret or generate language using artificial intelligence. And this is one of the most practical uses. Of course, it has some risk, okay? But when we use artificial intelligence to be creative on this one, how to use artificial intelligence in our language learning, in our teaching, not only for learning, but on teaching too. So here we have some tools that students and professors can use, or they use every time, but we can use and explore these tools in language learning. So for example, chatbots. When you need a paper, you need to text help, well, you can use chatbots to work with your classmates, with professors, in order to get some ideas about your paper. Smart assistants. We can use smart assistants using the computer, laptops, okay, in our language learning, and even cell phones. E-payments. Today, society is getting no money in pockets. Yeah, everything is done on using artificial intelligence, other devices. So you can use, for example, you use Yapi. Most people use Yapi today. So Yapi is one of these intelligence that we are going to use for e-payments, or sending through saving accounts, emails on this one. Search algorithms. So this is in science and math that we can work with using artificial intelligence in this business. And then as an English language learning, we work in all single field. Professor Rivera talked before about that this is the way how we go into science. And then we have one speaker here that talk about how artificial intelligence is using in research. And then we go into here, how to work with this, how to work with some programs that we have installed in our computer, and then how to get better results. And of course, to manage time, better time to use these tools. Media streaming, recording your videos, sending messages, learning through some videos or streams that you can get this. Smart cars, future comes. And then smart cars is part of this one, work with artificial intelligence. So it is not apart from us, it is here with us. Navigation apps, we have facial recognitions, text editor, and social media feeds. All of these samples of artificial intelligence helps us to learn language as a second language, the English, because we have to use, or most of these tools are in English, and then we're going to use them. It's easy for us to use them. Well, but the question is how we can use artificial intelligence. So when you start using your computer, so this is a question that you have to ask yourself. So there are many ways to use artificial intelligence, but for learning, we are going to use some applications to work with this. Application to work with artificial intelligence. To write, to speak, to have some conversations. Okay, we're going to see these tools in order to work with us. So artificial intelligence in language work with models. Why it work with models? Because artificial intelligence is a big data that is gotten from every single user. It's recording information. And when someone in any part of the world want to use this information, the artificial intelligence, from the big data that we have or metadata that we have, then it sends you some responses. So now here you can see 4 different practical uses of artificial intelligence in language learning. The first one, when we use conversation practice. Conversation practice, people say that it's more difficult to work with artificial intelligence. Well, you can talk to robots, no. You can talk to a media which has artificial intelligence. In here you can have a speech recognition that we were using time before, that we installing our computer in a heavy program. Now today is on the clouds and it's easier to get through the cell phones. And then you can share your speech, sounds, pronunciation, tone, pauses in order to develop your speaking skill. And then you work with this in conversation using artificial intelligence. In here we have language models. Before I told you that artificial intelligence work with models, not big data. The second aspect or second example that where we can use artificial intelligence is to develop vocabulary. Models to develop vocabulary. As you have learned, language is a generative way of humans. Language changed through humans' history. And today we have a new history in our hand that is a technological field that is evolving every day. And then language changes, and then we have to change our mind in the way of using new vocabulary. And then you can get vocabulary meaning uses using the artificial intelligence. So if you use some ChatGPT, you can get a lot of words, meaning an example, just to get, not to have only an idea using physical dictionaries, but you can get this in 1 second, a set of words. Writing practice. One of the most difficult techniques or skills that we develop in our school is writing. And then using artificial intelligence as a complement, a model to write better, okay? We can give good, or we can have good prompts to write or to practice writing every time. So today, Microsoft work with artificial intelligence in the programs, in the softwares, installing our computer, but few people use them. So what we want, those who are paid on the clouds, and then we can get, but Microsoft has installed in the software some artificial intelligence prompts that help us to write. In here, you can translate, you can check grammar, spelling, you can work with other issues from writing like coherence, mechanics, but the way it is to explore the use of artificial intelligence, just having your computer. Because all computers have Microsoft, well, not others one, our have Microsoft installed. iOS have used artificial intelligence for writing. Grammar instruction. The tendency to teach language is not focused on grammar. It should be on conversation. That is the purpose of the first slide here. In conversation. But we need to use grammar. We need to learn how to use spoken and written grammar. Well, artificial intelligence have a model, language model, to guide us how to use or how to learn on grammar. We can get some example, we can get some explanation on the use of grammar, the word choice in different sentences, give us some choices, and the reason why to choose specific words in our writing, in our sentences. And of course, all of these uses help us not only to manage the tools, but to improve our learning of the language as a complement tool, not as a tool for delivering the meaning or presenting any task in the language. Is to improve language learning. Remember that this is a big data and they work with models, language models, and they're going to recognize what you need by the moment that you are asking for help to use artificial intelligence. Well, everything sounds fine when we think on technology and of course on artificial intelligence. But what challenges can artificial intelligence pose on us, get on us? What are those challenges? First, we need to change our mind that artificial intelligence exists for help. Okay? So we need to be pro in technology. What does it mean pro in technology? To attempt to start working using technology. A few times ago in the past, people, they didn't want to touch the computer because they said that it was going to be broken now. No. So you have to use the devices that you have in your hands and explore working on this one for the purpose of learning. Well, in here, there's a message here that in here some problems that professor, and this focus on professors, okay, need to be aware is some challenge that we need to change for time. Our time and technology was different than today's. And then we have to work on this one. And teenagers, you young people are using more technology than professors. That is true. And then we need to be aware of that. We need to start working at the way that students know how to use technology, and then we have to improve them. To use technology to improve our teaching. Problems in artificial intelligence to education. Well, some problems, lack of personalization. Yes, this is based on security. Bias on discrimination. Artificial intelligence use some data, like algorithms to work not to discriminate, but the tendency is going into this one. Dependence on technology. We need technological devices. Data privacy and security. That I told you before, this is a big data that is getting information. Everything that you submit to the clouds, pictures, messages, everything that you send through your phones, computers, or any media is guaranteed for this intelligence. Well, how can we help students to use artificial intelligence? Using some models. It is to be more efficient on our classes. For example, first, we need to introduce artificial intelligence tools to our students. Okay? To introduce the use of artificial intelligence in the four that I mentioned before. Second, to provide support. It's not only to make students to have or using artificial intelligence. Professors need to have support on this one. That is why it is a challenge to this one. And the third, critical thinking. We need to encourage critical thinking. And in here is one of the challenges that students and professors have. What you get from the sources that you use artificial intelligence. Yes, then comes the support or your thought about what you have done. You need to think on this one. Keep up to date. Well, just to be updated, we need to start working on this one to benefit our students. And how would use artificial intelligence in our classes? Well, first of all, we need to be powered up in this area in technology support. And here I show you some tools that we can use for artificial intelligence in language learning. Duolingo, most people use Duolingo for language learning. Rosetta Stone is a very old site, but it's still using artificial intelligence, good for learning language. Babbel, Lingua, FluentU, Grammarly, ReadLink, speech recognition, Quizlet for assessment, voice assistance, virtual reality, text to speech, speech to text, language learning apps with artificial intelligence chatbots, and language learning analytics. So these are some tools that we can use for our purposes, our classes. Some idea, just close here, so that this artificial intelligence can be used in combination, don't forget that, in combination with the traditional teaching. It won't replace the traditional teaching. It is a complement for our traditional teaching. So the choice of these tools is very important because it depends on the specific needs and goals of the class, of the professor. Okay, and then we have to make that ESL learning or English as a second language learning should be more engaging in our and interactive in our classes in order to be or to have more effective learning or students learning for the future. Because it's not only to speak time change and the future is now working with this, with the use of technology. Thank you.
Now it's time for our question with Professor Gonzalo Rivera. For asking question for Professor Gonzalo.
More comments? Reflections on his information. One of the jobs that are in danger is jobs, call centers, even doctors, medicine. So this is what's coming, right? I don't know what you think. So we have to keep up because otherwise they'll be nothing. I remember one of my schools back in the day, like doing whatever play clubs. However, now we're seeing teacher in a different way. So for education, it has to do is embrace it, and we have to evolve. But things are evolving. That is teaching with them in the future. They don't have any us, they don't have sticky copies in alive, saying and the speech. So we have there's no way we have to raise it.
Thank you. Yes, yeah, related to your comment, Professor De Leon, this is artificial intelligence has some risk, yes, of course, in this field that Professor De Leon has mentioned. So one of the quotes before it was that no technology was going to replace humans, but today's are being replaced. Why? People, they don't want to learn how to work with technology or artificial intelligence. We need to embrace, we have to take in our hands the use of the new world and technology. If not, you're going to be replacing language. Maybe in the future, we won't have professors, teachers, translators, interpreters, because it's going to be done by technology or artificial intelligence.
These things is affecting the structure of our brain by the dependence of have that they cannot live without cell phone. Or what do you think?
Of course, it changed humans' life. When it changed a human's life, it changed the scheme of thinking. Once we were working on some multiple intelligences. And now we have, in this section, we have technological intelligence. Technological intelligence is the use of technology so you can use cell phone, computer at the same time, searching information, talking to someone, and then your brain is blinking faster. So your brain is working faster than time before. So classes, for example, teaching won't be too longer, because students are going to comprehend, are going to be, Professor Nadela, pay attention only fewer minutes to professors. And then classes should be shorter, going into the point specifically, because people or the new generation are thinking faster than us. Yeah, hopefully, yes. But the way is how to use artificial intelligence, because we can give them the artificial to have everything.
First time in conference, take a call. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But this is not that simple, as I said before, because humans, professors, aren't going to be replaced. Simple. But if our tendency in the classes is just projecting things, students watching videos, and not explaining them, practicing with them, and helping them to reach goals, then we are going to be replaced. Because if I am a professor that just projects something, students say, Professor, why don't you send us to our email? We see that at home, we don't need to be in the class.
Yes.
So we have to explain, and we have to be part of the class, telling the students that we can help them to learn things. I talk about, for example, composition. It's not that simple using an app. You know why? Because they don't like it. They don't like composing. And if you do not tell them that this is important, this is something that they have to learn, they don't pay attention. So I think that this is important. But we, as a professor, cannot allow technology to be played out. But we are in the wrong direction if we keep using technology in the wrong way. That's why you're telling them. That is the way that we have to use technology, using artificial intelligence correctly. But I have to be honest, first, we have to be prepared. And probably
it's a challenge. Thanks, Mr. Martinez. This is one of the challenges that we have, to change our mind, to be ready, to be prepared to use technology. It is not easy, because we need to be ahead of technology. Yes, lady. Yeah. Why? Just one reason. Humans will be human forever. Yep. So there was one of the aspects that I mentioned before that we have to take into account, that is critical thinking. Yes, in classroom, when you approach to students or students approach to the professor, asking for a doubt that is in his or her mind, so comes what artificial intelligence cannot give you an answer. That is the critical thinking. Looking for the reason, the whys. We are there to support teaching or to support learning. Artificial intelligence is going to give you, I've told you, language models, information, data, but you have to think on which information or which data is the best one. And the one who give you how to use it or how to work with them is the professor that is face-to-face to you. Is it better to use this because of this and that? So researchers get a lot of artificial intelligence, getting some data, some information. But most time they have to go to the field to prove that the data is okay, to get more information. So in classes, professors, of course, should be aware of the risk, but you need to learn how to process information by your own, because the human brains still is not replaced. That comes in their critical thinking. Maybe in the future, that is a question, Professor Nadia. So the schemes to change the way of the thinking. Thank you.
Presentation.
Yes, it's a good question. That is what Professor Martinez said, that we need to be ready as professor to use this one, to use artificial intelligence. It's not only to us to have an assignment to students, it's to read if we have to read. Yes. We need to check what the students are writing, what the students are listening, what students are speaking. And of course, students have to. Yes. So how to know if students' job is okay or not is just by reading. You can use different models to check students' writing. Yes, for sure, this is what Professor Nader is going to talk. For example, in writing. But at the end of the use of these tools, professors should read. I just mentioned before that human brains have not been replaced yet. Yeah. So this is the way that we need to read, to listen to the students. When we use speech recognition and give us the level of the speech that a student have when they talk, that is good to know the pitch sound, the voice sound. But when they pronounce an utterance word, is in our business. This is professors' duties. Yeah, and then we have to check, and the students say, I was practicing with a speech recognition. Yes, of course. But where were you doing good, or how you have to improve is the professor role. That is why that is important of you being here, how to learn the language. Yeah. When you organize your ideas to talk using artificial intelligence, that is good. But how to improve that by yourself is when you have someone aside to you or in front to you to learn. Thank you. One more question, Seth. Yeah. Okay, just to answer this question because Professor Nader is coming. Well, we have different tools to assign this one. Is not, I told you before at the very beginning, artificial intelligence has an approach that is to get a big data or big information on this one. Well, not only to change or use some tools that we want, but the purpose of the tool. So what is the purpose that we have to follow in order to learn? This is when you use the different tools. For example, I mentioned some because we have more, okay? Tools that use artificial intelligences in here. So the objective or the purpose in your lesson is very important, or what you want to learn in this one. In order to do a choice, a good choice, use in the tool that you're going to use. And for example, Professor Nader is going to talk about writing specifically. That is one of the tools that that maybe you can use in the future. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Cabrera. To continue, our next speaker is Magister Nader Suleiman, also a specialist in virtual realities and professor in our school. His topic is artificial intelligence powered by academic writing, creativity, plagiarism detection, and ethical challenges. Professor, you know the rules. You will have 25 minutes.
25? Hello, hello. Give me some minutes here. Oh, sorry, here. Morning, people. As usually, it's a challenge to be in front of you. Do you know why? Because you are the generation that will change the game. You will be the game changer of this. I remember when I was studying English, my professor with a cassette recorder in every classroom. You are not. You are from a different generation, a generation full of challenge. That's the reason I feel like I have a challenge in front of so smart people like you. Today I have a presentation. I know the topic is a little bit complex, but I will try to give you a panoramic view about the challenges we're going to face with this artificial intelligence powered academic writing, creativity, plagiarism detection, and ethical challenges. I know the topic is complex, but I'm going to try to give you a clear overview about what we have in front of our noses. My name, Nader Suleiman. Nice to meet you. Okay, I want to start this with Aristotle's nature operate in the shortest way possible. Simplicity is very important. Human, we try to make things, we believe in the shortcuts. Some people with complexity will say this guy is okay, because most of the time we try to make things simpler, and that is an important thing before to start this presentation. Ernest Hemingway said that there is no rule in how to write. Pay attention to this quote, easily and perfectly. It's very difficult to write. Writing is one of the most difficult skills, but I don't believe on that exactly, because sometimes writing is evidence what you have in your brain. Sometimes when you speak, it's only sound, right? But when you write, you evidence what you have in your brain. So I don't know what you think about it. At the end, in your question, I will be waiting for that, all right? Writing is generally considered the most difficult of the four skills. It demands a great ideal and work and concentration. Learning to write well takes a lot of practice, patience. Students need clear guidance, positive feedback, and interesting ideas to write. That's according to Semak and Islam, author of many, many writing books.
Each language and each culture has a paragraph order unique to itself. And part of this learning particular language is the master. In linguistics, we have a subject, social linguistic, and all languages are different. No all languages are the same. And at the beginning of this conference, I want you to be clear on that. No all languages are the same. So we have some variations. According to Kaplan, 1966, we have something like English is very direct at the point. Semitic, like Arabic, Hebrew, etc., they are like, Oriental, they are like a twister. Romans, that's the reason we love novelas turcas. And Russian, they are like this, That's according to Kaplan, 1966. I don't know, what do you think about it? That's the way how English organization of a paragraph, right? The topic sentence, that's the Japanese professor Lombardo. I don't know if you agree with that, with the Japanese organization of a paragraph, a twister, and the Spanish organization, and that's Arabic organization. Here is my point, here is my point, and here is my point. And that's something like, that's writing can be difficult. All right, artificial intelligence. Now, the main topic is the art of creating machines that try to replace the human in medicine, in linguistics, in teaching, in all areas of human society. So we have to pay attention to that because AI is not, and artificial intelligence is not something new. They have a long time using that on websites for free, because I prefer Google because it's for free. I prefer Grammarly free version. No, this free version, they are catching your information. They are using the information you are putting there to give you back, and you have to pay for that. Nothing is free. When your grandmother say nothing is free, she is right. She was right. I know your case. According to Elon expressed concern about the AI and described a fundamental risk to the extent of human civilization. I don't know if you agree. I like science fiction movie like Prometheus, etc. I don't know if you like that. I love it. This guy is not, for some people it's popular, for others it's not very popular, but he's right. Now, like Professor Miguel said, probably in the future, teachers are professors, they are in the risk. Probably our work will be replaced by machine. According to Howard Gardner about the multiple intelligence theory, people learn in a different way. I don't know what's yours. Some people say, you're a linguist. Oh, linguistics has a great contribution to AI. You know why? Because theory, Chomsky linguistics insight have played a pivotal role in the development of AI system for natural language processing. ChatGPT use Chomsky in some way, Chomsky paradigms, and later I'm going to give you more detail about that. They enable machine to understand better, process, and generate human language, enhancing communication between human and AI. Language is a human tool. Language is a human component. Between machine, they use another type of language. They have a lot. I'm not expert in ICT, but a language is a human component and vary according to the culture. This is the guy. The contributions about Noam Chomsky for ChatGPT: generative grammar, Persian algorithms, cognitive science, transformational grammar, context-free grammar, NLP framework, syntax and semantic, universal grammar. Okay, not exactly, but they use a lot of those components to produce language in a natural way. Now you have an overview about what is AI. Yeah, I know it's crazy. It's very crazy what we have in front. I want to speak about the law of least effort. Check it out. Oh, you familiarized with that? You are one of these. I remember pandemic. I was in my short and my suit here in front, giving my conferences. Our natural predisposition to prefer procrastination and laziness. It's familiar this for you? Yeah. The loveless effort is like for this guy about effort minimization, energy saving mentality, resistant to excessive effort. You don't like to work hard, right? Preference for comfort. You prefer air condition than a fan, you know? Prioritization of efficiency, focus on the end of the result, adaptation to technology for leisure. I like Instagram, a lot of social feeds, etc. Consideration of benefits and costs, and that is the philosopher and psychologist William James, the law of least effort. And we are like that. Some people, you know, human are different, but in most of cases, people don't like to do the work. They prefer shortcuts. They prefer, you know, to have less work. Causes decreased productivity in academic writing. Actually, academic writing is a challenge, okay? Writing is a challenge. Academic writing is a bigger challenge. Why? According to different authors, Robert Boyce, lower productivity. I mark in red, you know, I highlight in red the different, you know, to make this, to compress my presentation. Lack of support and mentorship. Guidance is a problem because academic writing needs guidance. If you don't have a coach or if you don't have someone next to you for orientations, that will determine the success of your writing. Clear writing goals and manage time effectively. That is a problem. People, they don't like to manage the time. Write blogs, feelings overwhelmed because some people here at the university, they are in different commissions. The students, they are doing a lot of things, multitasking, and this is probably a good topic for next conference is multitasking. We are doing different things at the same moment. And that is part of our culture nowadays. Oh, this guy, Stephen Hawking. It's like to be the best or the worst thing happened to humans, right? Because that is the beginning, people, ladies and gentlemen. Now we are in the beginning. And one of the characteristics of the main feature of AI or technology ICT is that every 1 year we have a new iPhone. Every 2 year, 3 year, technology is, you know, changing and changing. And now we are in the top of the iceberg. And imagine AI in 10 or 15 years ago. You imagine that, how technology will change? We are at the beginning of a revolution. How AI is structured. Like I'm not expert, but I'm going to explain you panoramically. That's word is my authority, panoramically. Supervised machine learning, that's a word like that. They have, it's a system of different processes. For example, that's according to ChatGPT, they use all of those components to produce language. This is not like a PDF to get information. No, it's a very complex process in ChatGPT. That's the most popular app here. And students, right? I love ChatGPT too. Here is a concise overview about various AI applications used for text editing. Natural language. Oh, like 10 years ago, I used Google Translate, right? Natural language. They use the technology NLP. ChatGPT use another technology, NLG. Turnitin use a big, you know, actually Turnitin, later I'm going to give you more detail. Turnitin is the top #1 in all universities. He's the most used, actually. I was checking my information because technology is changing, but Turnitin is very popular. More than Grammarly, because later I'm going to give you. Turnitin is for plagiarism specifically, and Grammarly is to check your grammar, but they have like a small feature about some professors, they say, you plagiarize the work because he checked on Grammarly, but Grammarly is not very heavy, or this is not very efficient for that. And this is, people don't use automated summarization. Audible is one of my favorite. He's use another type of technology. What I'm going to try to explain you that we have different AI technology. They are not the same. Brandwatch is for customer. And I know you use it for Lisa, Alexa. This is use another customer chatbots. That is a problem actually in Twitter, the chatbots. They are having an issue there. Okay, let me explain you about plagiarism. People are not clear about that, some people. Plagiarism is theft in the highest order, not only their work, but their soul. That's according to Mark Twain about plagiarism. Okay, plagiarism is not the same. Plagiarism is act of copying someone else's work, idea, or text without attribution or permission. An AI writing generation is another thing. You should be very clear in two concepts. Most of plagiarism checkers, they are using technology to check the work of Lombardo, right? Lombardo's work. But text generation is another thing. And later I'm going to give you more detail about that, and we have to pay attention. These tools are in 2023, they are a very recent tool, GPT Radar. Later, this is my favorite to check ChatGPT, because plagiarism checkers, they don't have the capability to work on that. ChatGPT Radar is the top #1. They are using the same technology. To detect AI technology, you have to use AI technology. You cannot use, no, a friend of mine, this guy didn't do the work, didn't make the work. How do you know that? In academic writing, you need evidences. You need to have the things clear. If you don't have evidences, so we have to pay attention to GPT Radar. Is awesome. It's designed by the same people from ChatGPT. How does it work? We have to pay attention to three things: text perplexity, burstiness, and distribution probability. That is the only way. Perplexity analysis, that is like lack the smoothness, because actually we are working with machines, and sometimes the human touch is like, you know, complex terminology or discern instant. But do you know how, if we have a huge amount of text, but if you have like 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs, that's very difficult. Another is burst analysis, AI generate content, repeated phrases. ChatGPT commonly use the same words. If you have the right tool, you can detect the AI content generation, because that is the issue. Potentially suggesting AI involvement. And the last one, distribution probability analysis. That's technical things, but the most important thing is that we have lights that AI content text generation, we have the hope that it can be detectable. With the rise of artificial intelligence, content creation, universities and academic institution professors, they have to invest in technology. Now the era of working with markers, that's bye-bye. Now we are in a new future coming, right? Now I want to show you the video how AI works. For example, that's how artificial neural network animation, that is the connection, that's impossible to detect, and that's the human brain. They work with binarian. Binarian is 1 and zeros, and they're not the same, but they are very, very similar. Artificial neurons do not work like biological neurons. That's something like artificial neurons. They have a lot of patterns, it's more like a mathematics. It's not about copying and pasting. No, we are in phase of something different. Yeah, that's the comparison about a biological neuron and artificial neuron. Okay, AI versus human writing. AI efficient, algorithmic, high volume, lack creativity, etc. A human is creative, is emotional, is original, is unique perspective. And to finish, Jose Mojica envisioned a future with intelligent machine like a human work less and live longer. Because according to Jose Mojica, the human being never worked. Now they are working, they are deciding for careers they don't like because they need to earn money. But now with AI technology, we have more time to enjoy if we use it in the right way. So we have to pay attention for time efficiency and to try. The thing is that technology grew, but our values and our ethic didn't. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, for that presentation. And now it's time for questions.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I like sometime because I checking people. I did that. Some people read. I will try to answer because people are generating questions throughout ChatGPT, but I will try to do the battle again. AI, they are using ChatGPT. No, not in your case, but I did it before. Yeah. I will try to fight against ChatGPT. I will try. Yeah.
For me, it's not other people. As a student that is going this studying careers of English and bachelor and also in the future, for me, it's very interesting that you mentioned that if you prefer to be possible, that I can require this as a teacher, Zoom. But don't you consider that the thing that differentiates English and the students is that due to the ability of understanding, it's the capacity to use something. So what's advice to do for the future person to face the reality at the video? What technology improve our teaching?
Laura, you're a teacher and you know about teaching. That's a wonderful question. It's not AI generated. It's from you, I know. Laura, we are professors. You are we are. Some of you or most of you will be teachers. And my question for you is that we are learning human, right? We have in some way to go back and try. Now, we are going to continue using technology, but the thing is that we have to make a balance according to assess cognitive activities like critical thinking, etc., and use of technology. The thing, Laura, is that we are using too much technology. And students are like internet dependent. If they don't use internet, they cannot generate homework because they need a lot of apps and tools to make the homework. And that is the big issue. Your future as professor, it's to design your classes to assess cognitive, right? And try to separate from technology because as you know, ChatGPT, they use the information they already have in database. If you don't add information to the database, they don't have. So the thing about the AI can replace human could be in the future for some areas, but we are human and we need some time to assess cognitive things. Probably AI in the future can do it. But the thing is now, Laura, students to keep the balance. Keep the balance. Keep the balance. That is my advice. Any other question? Yeah, one important thing I forgot is that sometimes when you put it, your monograph, your thesis, you are enriching AI. So there are an issue about copyright. Because when you put your information in the AI, they have your information, they have your data. So that is a legal thing. Because sometimes research requires a lot of time, and you copy and paste all your human work in the AI. And now the owners of the ChatGPT, they have all the information, and they every day will be better and better and better. Nothing is free. Don't forget that. Questions?
Your question, people, students, investors.
That is a reason of that.
Thank you for your time. Nice to meet you.
To continue, our third speaker is Dr. Roberto Lombardo, a PhD in marine bioresources from Hokkaido University in Japan. He is a full-time professor in the marine biology department here at the CRUV and the member of the National Research System in Panama. His topic today is the AI-assisted morphometrics for the study of the Osa fiddler crab ecology in the Eastern Montijo Gulf. Professor, you will have 25 minutes to explain your point.
Thank you for, is this thing on? There we go. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you guys for the information. And thank you for being here. As you have heard, my name is Roberto, and I'm like the goalkeeper of this team. I am even wearing different clothes, but I'll try to fit in and tell you a little bit of how we apply AI. Now, why would AI go to therapy? Any takers? Why would AI would go to therapy? Well, if you think about it, if you get asked the billions of questions AI gets asked every day, you kind of want to go to therapy. People be asking you about how to change a tire, why my cat's the devil, and a whole bunch of questions that should be censored, really. But why would it go? It had too many neural issues. And that would happen if AI was human, but it's not. AI is not an object, although it requires hardware. It's a process. See, it's a heuristic process. And today I'm going to talk about how we use AI to study the morphometrics of the Osa fiddler crab ecology in the Eastern Montijo Gulf. This is an actual thing, right? So there's me sharing knowledge in the mangroves of Ponuga River. And that's a thesis student. Basically with no clue as what she's doing at the moment, but we understand it's important. And that's key for everything you will be doing in the future. Even though you do not understand it why you are doing it now, you must know it's important. So if you think about it, AI is another revolution. And if you look back in history, all these inventions, the telescope, the radio telescope, the microscope, the computer, all of these things, genome editing, the breakthroughs in CRISPR-R, these are things that help us manipulate DNA, cut it, paste it to other things, and make cells do different things that they were not able to do before. All of these things have broadened our perception, that they have allowed us to see things that were not evident for us before. In 1997, the chess master, Garry Kasparov, lost to a computer called Deep Blue. And you'd say Deep Blue was a computer armed with AI to play chess, but it was not AI. It was just simply a big computer, able to process billions of moves and to look forward, even 14 sets of plays. And to quote Mr. Chomsky, watching Kasparov lose to Deep Blue was as interesting as to see a bulldozer win over an Olympian lifting weights. Because the human brain has limitation, it has physical limitations. When you put a computer with that much processing power, it is a losing battle. But fear not. Believe it or not. Put yourselves back in time when the first airplanes were proven to work. Do you think the people who owned the railroads were thrilled or happy about this? They were in fear their business would disappear. Even further back in time, think about the people who had farms and raised horses to sell. When the railroads came, they saw their livelihoods slip away. But as with all revolutions, there needs to happen. Adaptation needs to occur. You either adapt or you end up being left behind. Do you know the movies Star Wars? Have you seen the movies? There are some TV shows that are actually quite popular now. There's one character in this movies. It's called Yoda. I know you're familiar with the Master Yoda. Very insightful, very, classical sensei type person with lots of wisdom. And he said he would not allow young Skywalker to be trained. Anakin Skywalker, because he had fear. He had fear in himself. And fear brings about hate, and hate brings you to the dark side. And this is what you should avoid: fear. Do not fear AI. It is a tool. It is designed to broaden human cognition, enhance your experience. It is naturally bringing you about to the next revolution. Now, fiddler crabs, as the one I mentioned before, the Osa fiddler crab, belongs to a family of crabs that are very, very colorful, very, very interesting. There are about 106 species in the world, and they are characterized by having extreme asymmetry in one of their claws, especially and only the males. And in Panama, we have several species of these guys. You'd say, well, how does the language and AI fit in with these guys? Well, what you're seeing is signals. They communicate. They have multimodal signals, and these things mean something. They do communicate through vibrations. They do communicate by visual stimuli. And it is important because some of these signals are used for reproduction. And within variation, genetic variation in the signals, you get different answers. And that means something because it is important for a process where new species emerge. So here, in this side of the world, we have 36 species in Panama. In the Caribbean, we have 7. And in the Pacific, we have 28. Actually, these guys, there's some speculation about their existence in the Caribbean side, because this is a commonly found species in the Pacific. So fiddler crabs communicate. They are important for systems in special mangroves, because the consequences of their activities have impact over the life histories of other species. And because of they are bioengineers, meaning that they can alter the ecosystem. And by doing so, they promote change or maintain the status quo as it is. So some species dig small burrows, some dig smaller ones, some dig bigger ones, and they have different shapes and whatnot. And this one here is an extreme guy. He builds mazes. It is extremely complex para cesar bidens. It's from the Indo-Pacific. We have species related to these crabs, but we don't know anything about them. We have fiddler crabs for whom we know the structure of their burrows. But the species we're going to talk about today is only known to 2 places in the whole planet. And just recently, we reported to be also present in Onuga, in the eastern side of the Montijo Gulf. Previously thought to be endemic to Costa Rica. As you can see, it's a very colorful, large claw, bright orange, white, yellowish tip. Surely somebody must have reported it. We have this here in Panama, so on and so on. But to my surprise, there's no reports. So we embarked onto a description of the species. We collected some specimens, wrote the paper. Because we don't know anything about the species ecology and the role in the mangroves ecosystems, we started to investigate some of the ecology aspects of the species, mainly their behavior, their activity patterns, some of the interactions between males and females, and also some parts about their extended phenotype. I feel like I should explain what phenotype means. It is what you look like on the outside. That is entirely an expression of your genome, of your DNA. So first, we selected some burrows. We produced some casts. We used some plaster and capture every crab that would escape to have a correlated measurement of their biometrics and the burrow. We measured also the water table level, the vertical depth of the burrow, and we let the cast to cure for about 4 days. Then we went back and dug ourselves our pits to collect them as much as possible to be a complete piece. And then we proceeded to analyze morphometrically the burrows. So first, it is a painstakingly task. You have to think of this like you're reconstructing a tomato from ketchup. So we rebuilt the cast. This is a task that takes about 72 man-hours per cast, and we did 30. We were able to recover 27. But it's interesting because this is the first time we had data that correlates the size of the crab and its sex to the features of its burrow. So we reconstruct the cast and then did optical capture. And this is done with an iPhone. The lowest version of the iPhone that works for this is an iPhone 12 that has a LiDAR sensor. LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging. It is a sonar that works with light instead of sound. Do you know what a sonar is by show of hands? A sonar by show of hands. Really? A sonar is a device that emits a sonic pulse, and there's a sensor that catches back the sound. If the sonar catches sound fairly quickly, it means an object is closer. If the frequency of the sound changes, it means that the object is composed of a specific substance, a solid, a semi-solid, and whatnot. Basically, it is used now in cars to avoid collisions. It's used on submarines. But LiDAR is different. LiDAR emits a pulse of laser light. And there is a camera, an optic device, that picks back the speed at which that pulse came back. So it is like you touch something. It is like you being blind and touching someone's face. And then in your mind, you reconstruct the face of the person. But instead of doing it with your hands, you're doing it with light. There shall be light. After that, you use NERF. Yes. And you can actually reconstruct some 3D models by using your handheld device, your iPhone, anything, basically. There are some limitations, but it is now available for everybody that is interested in doing it. So we use neural radiance fields. And we use a app that lends us a special AI that is very good at recognizing some of the patterns that come out from NERF. And then we render this model, a 3D model of the burrow cast. So we end up with data that symbolizes the data points regarding the spatial distribution of those points in space that make up the burrow. And we can measure distances from one point to another. We can measure volume, and we can do all sorts of other metrics with this data. So one of the goals of this study was to produce 3D models and then understand some of the differences between sexes in the structure of the burrow and some other things that we'll be seeing in a moment. But first, what is NERF and what happens in between those two last things? So first, when you reconstruct the burrow, you have to capture data on a 2D device, that's your iPhone, and you place it in a position that is well lit, that there's very little reflexes from bright surfaces and whatnot, and you hold your device and then you take pictures from as many angles as you can, right? So that's a 2D input. After that, you use NERF, and what it does is it takes a 5-dimensional input. This is position, X, Y, Z, in a plane like this. And then it takes 2 other inputs, which is angle And this is, if your camera is facing this way, theta is what we would refer to as this angle, okay? And the other one, phi, is this rotation. So the nerve, which is represented by those gray bars in the blue there, what it does, it will process this data and it will give you color and it will give you radiance. It will tell you from such and such angle and position, there is said specific color and radiance. Radiance meaning the light that it's reflected. So the good news is you can get color and volume, and then this you can derive this. And this is where AI kicks in. Because you feed all your pictures to the neural network, and then it produces the solution in color and volume. So if this color and volume equals these data points, then you can do a regression. You can predict what an object would look like from an angle that you did not take with your camera at the beginning. So you can look at your object from the top, you can look at it from an angle, from the bottom, you can look at it from inside if it's a hollow object, okay? So it's really cool because it allows the synthesis of new views. This is something that you could not perceive. AI is opening your eyes to this new data, to this new reality. So this is a model. It actually gave us more than we expected because it also rendered the surroundings. Some other things that we were not interested in, it also compiled them. So that's a cast hanging from a pole over there. And what you see is our motion going around it. And surely some of those sections were not taken by the camera. All right. And after this, we can render the data and appreciate it from different angles, measure distances, volumes, as I said before. And now we're ready to do some comparisons. We're ready to do some statistics. You know what statistics are? You've used them. You've used them when you use experience to calculate the probability that someone would be late. To make judgment, you've used statistical theory. And here we have a table where we compare some things, okay? Based on the width of the carapace, the size of the crabs compared to females, and so on. It turns out that it is true. Some other studies have said this as well. The males are larger than females. And here's the structure. Some have these coils. And we say they are coils because although from this angle we cannot see, when you use the model and put it upside down, you can see there are coils on it. This is something very difficult to catch just with your eyes. And that is important. We see that there is some variation between male and female burrows. Some have some chambers. We don't know what they are for, but we have a good idea. It is involved probably in some reproductive manner because these crabs, as you saw before, they call on females by waving. Each species has a specific motion for waving. In fact, it is also used for telling apart some species. So remember we said, well, we'll try to compare the burrows in terms of their vertical depth. We'll try to compare them in their total burrow depth, the water table. That is, how deep is water found when you excavate the burrow? We use this AI to measure 4 sections of the burrows: the neck, the second segment, the third segment, and the end. And we try to compare those between the sexes. And it turns out that between males and females, the morphometrics of the burrows are different. Males do build wider burrows, and the correlations are pretty good. Here you can see that with increasing claw length, there is also an increase in burrow diameter. Here is the same with weight of the males. With females, there's a negative correlation, meaning that at a certain size, females really don't matter. They don't care if the burrow is wider, or as long as they can fit in it. And this is an interesting feature of the burrows, the coils. They are there to avoid collapse of the walls. If you build a straight down burrow, the chute of the burrow may collapse because this is unstable material. It is clay from the mangroves, so it may collapse. And because of these curves, these coils are there, when crabs move about them, there must be enough space for them to move around the coils. So what did we learn from applying AI? It doesn't matter if crabs are male or female, they will dig as deep as they can to reach water because they are constrained. Even though they are terrestrial crabs, and believe it or not, they can drown, they need water to refresh their gills. So they will do this. If they're far away from the river shore, like here, they will dig burrows that are comparatively deeper to burrows closer to the shore. Why? Well, as far as you get from the shore here, water takes longer to seep into the soil, so you have to dig deep. It doesn't matter how large the crabs are. They will dig as deep as a meter and 22 centimeters. That equals you digging at least 28 times your height. Can you imagine carrying your own weight in dirt 28 times? The Panama Canal would have been built rather faster. Now, what else we'd learn? Because of the claw and its asymmetry, crabs need some space to move around, as I said before. And the angle of this coil here is related to the length of the claw. Not so much the height, although it's a symmetric structure. Symmetric in terms of the higher, the longer the claw would be. So if crabs need to move around through the coils, there's a correlation here. So AI and language is a topic that would keep on producing opinions and whatnot. But it is not until you apply it and gain new insights that you will stop fearing it. Do not go into the dark side. Learn from AI, and maybe the crabs will start speaking. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Mr. for that presentation. Time for questions.
Why did that happen? Or is that theory that just very few instances or species? Is there any theory?
Okay, I should say, it's not a rare animal. It so happens that it is overlooked. And in 2010, it was first described as a new species in Costa Rica. And in 2021, 2022, we were able to describe it here. And it's probably elsewhere. We know that it's also in Coiba Island. We know it's also present in the western side of the Montiel Gulf, but we don't know much about it. If I had to put my money on it, I'd say it's also present in Colombia, maybe as far down as Ecuador, but we don't know.
So, given these uncertainties, maybe they are somewhere else.
Okay, you could probably build a very complex model to tell you the probabilities of it being somewhere else. But what we've done here is we use AI to tell us about the structure here. And because it is very difficult to stitch together 2,000 pictures, all right, with different angle and different inclination, different reflections of color. We use AI to do that, the stitching for us, to produce the model here. And because the input here, see the image on the top, that's the camera, that's light that it emits. The cell phone, it's shooting lasers at the thing. And then it's telling you, given this coordinates, color and volume should be X. So if you use the math, you can predict Y. Given X, what is the value of color and volume for Y? It is a simple mathematical function. Functions are a machine. If you feed them something, they will give you something back. And because the universe is symmetrical and things have an opposite, and there is causation for each cause, there is a reaction. Although the world is much more complex, but in this field, you can easily predict what would be color and volume given the first coordinates that you get from LiDAR. So this approach, it is, I don't know if you can grasp it, but it is now available for you to use. Think of a surgeon wanting to practice a surgery. You could take this model data and print, 3D print, a actual size correct, anatomically correct model and practice before going into your patient's surgery. You can actually make a model of some object that you want to design or change some of the functions it can do. The possibilities are pretty wide.
Actually, I was going to say and I remember the time I was like 2 years ago that we were having a serious reaction to the afraid to change. And with the public vaccine. So see many people are there saying that period such and such. And then I write a meme, like I remember the times where the lack of information or human stupidity Well, because of we thought I think that today was the presentation.
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
It's not fair. Probably there are challenges coming. This is super awesome. Yeah, we can work all that, not only in European, but in many.
Hmm. Yes. Thank you very much. When you touch on the topic of language recognition, you can train AI to draw on the geometrical distances to replicate semantics. And you can actually develop a 3D model for what English looks like. You can start with a sphere, and then through the variations of semantics, say a sentence, man is king. You can draw on those semantic relations and identify what's the word for king in Japanese. There is an underlying reality of language that is universal. And there is a cultural factor that generates variation. But because human language is, it's complex to a point, yes. But you can generate a model to actually represent it physically in a shape. And you know the distances between those points. That represents words, that represents an expression. And you can use that to find in another language meaning. Can you believe this? Meaning. If you use this technology to understand animal language or to decode a signal, in the future, we might be able to speak to other things. This is the way to communicate with other living things foreign to Earth in the future. It is not a question of if it's possible, of if other life exists elsewhere, because the chemistry of carbon is an inevitable consequence that will lead you to life. So if we want to understand this, we can use a geometrical approach by generating models like this to understand semantic differences between different languages. That is, if that other life form uses air to produce sounds, that eventually will have attributed to those sounds a meaning. Let us trust that in the future, those other counterparts use wind-generated sounds to speak. It'd be nice to answer maybe 3 more, maybe 4 other questions, because there's probably some of these ideas are new. So if you'd like some clarification on some of these, be my guest, please. My advice to you is go out and read. If you read, no one can tell you what to think. You want to be in control of your decisions? Have a good read.
They're like AI training. I think we need the same thing. I mean, it's hard to do this by ourselves. We need to have training how to use it in our fields, like you did in yours. I get it.
I learned about this because I could not afford an MRI machine. If we could do an MRI, we do a magnetic resonance. So we'd be shooting hydrogen atoms at this thing. And because the interactions between the hydrogen and the atoms of the object would give out a different signature depending on the material, we'd know the structure. We'd be able to see inside. But we could not afford an MRI machine. So what's the next best thing? Throughout life, you'll be facing challenges. And if you think about it, life is a constant struggle to overcome those challenges, one challenge at a time. So what do? What do we have? Think about the bizarre thing that this is. Let's shine some lasers at a cast made from the burrow of some rare species out here in the Eastern tropical Pacific. How much does it cost? Well, you'd need an iPhone and a computer and some time, some free time to do it. Well, how much does that cost? Well, you already have a computer. Let's face it, you need to update your phone. So get an iPhone and just start playing with it. The more you play with a problem, the better is going to be the solution to it. So play with your problem. Look at it from a different angle. Learn from the problem. Nowadays, it's very difficult to find the skill of problem solving in this new generations. And I'm not throwing shade on anybody. I'm just saying the society of today is not really focused on looking for solutions because most of these solutions are already out there for you. Because you have access to them, you're not interested as previous generations in learning how a calculator works, how the internet works. You're conditioned to have the answers right away. And because your cell phone takes a little longer for some answers to be brought up to your attention, there is an intrinsic complaint. But remember, the cell phone is speaking to a satellite over a kilometer above Earth, where time is relative and is going slower for the satellite by fractions of a second. Give it some time. Learn how it works. Because you learn how some things work, you may find connections to some of the problems you have to face and solve. But if you do not do this exercise, you'd be facing a wall that you cannot break because you want an immediate solution. So play with your problem. That is not to say to take your problems, recklessly or without care, but look at them through different lenses, look at them through different angles, and maybe you'll find an answer. Well, let's shine some lasers at the thing.
You take us here to be like first session about this. The hours do something related. First, somebody do you think that we should know about it? It should be in your.
If I understood correctly, the way to search for this information, or
Which point you consider that we have to search for start knowing more, not just like the thoughts in the region that
okay. Do you have a question that keeps you up at night? You could be concerned about what's the color of the inside of Snoopy's house. Some people have genuine concerns about some mundane things. Why my Doritos bag just had 6 chips? Why is society eroding away? It could be a broad spectrum of concerns that derive from serious questions. So look for your question. What do you want? What do you want to know? After you generate your question, the path to searching for that answer it's in front of you. If you go through the path of least resistance, then maybe you'll find elegant solutions, simple solutions. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. So you do your research. When you generate your question, you look for somebody who had previously thought of it and came up with an approach. Then you say, well, that doesn't really apply to my question, but it's something I can build on. And then you look for papers about that. And then when you look for papers about that, you pinpoint some key things in the methods, how they did this. And then you'll be able to come with a new approach, something new to solve a new problem. You cannot solve new problems using the same things you've been using before. You have to create a new solution. It could be as easily as using a different type of font. Maybe if I'd used Comic Sans, the talk would have been funnier. I don't know, maybe. But it'd be a disgrace if you went to sleep and you walk the earth the next day without leaving with passion about learning something about the world. You want to leave something better for the next generations. Leave behind new knowledge. Somebody will pick it up and produce a solution that would maybe inspire you to create a better quality of life, empower the powerless, feed the hungry, protect the vulnerable. It is imperative. As a society today, we need curious people. We need people, young people, who have the time, because let's face it, the human experience is really interesting, but you find out of how interesting it is and how joyful it can be at the ending of it, because you cherish your time. It's the last years you're gonna get. And then you realize and reflect. Carrying the hand of a child, eating something really good, jumping off of a cliff into a river. The human experience is so ironically constricted by time that if you want others to live a good experience, the best thing you could probably do is to leave knowledge behind. And do not judge yourself by the quality of this knowledge, thinking it's superficial or maybe it's too mundane. Somebody will pick it up and probably would be of great help in the future. So find your question. What do you want to know? It's different from what you need to know. And I don't want to get too philosophical about this, but what do you want to know is one of the most important things you can do before you're 30.
One question was just a last comment because I will not be like asking. First comment, not as a question for me, but as part of the audience, right? When I watch on YouTube those presentations like TED Talks, I'm watching different type of topics like this one, very complex one, but they are in it because maybe I didn't get what this guys, whatever you say, but in English. So this is like how to promote the field of English, how to expose myself to topics like this, maybe not because I'm corrected in the class, I like it in the place, but it's about language because it's English. And then I want to believe that maybe something we are being exposed to this type of language, speakers. Then we ask them, do you know about HI? Do you know what is HI? What is that? HI? Human intelligence. Because everybody's talking about AI. We talk about our nature, our vision. We got to do that. And ultimately, my invitation here is to say, how can I say? I felt like I was part of an audience in a TED Talk. The only thing we are missing here is the red circle there. You were a protagonist, Nanda, Professor Herrera, and actually had a Roberto Lombardo student in my class.
Yes, yes.
I can't see it.
That'd be me.
Look at the crowd we have here. So, congratulations to the organ, this submission, something. I'm very happy about this. As a professor, I'm very happy to be part of this crowd, the students. Yesterday, we had a very nice class. You are invited home, you are invited to school and tomorrow. Thank you, you guys, for extending. I have been enjoying this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, for the participation. Thank you. Thank you, all speakers, for sharing your enlightening ideas regarding the existence of artificial intelligence now and in a near future. We would like to have a discussion sections among the speakers and the audience to generate position as a professor, researchers, and a student in the field of education. The question for the three speakers is, do you see any negative impact of artificial intelligence in human daily activities? Now it's time, you say.
For me? Yeah. Lucky me, right? Okay, all things have benefits and other have weaknesses. All excessive things in life, all excessive. If you drink a lot of water, you will have health problems, and the same happen with AI. If we are balanced, if we keep a balance throughout the human cognition and the healthy use of technology, that's a new term, healthy use of technology, healthy use of AI, I'm very sure that we don't have to scare about the future, but all with excessive. The excessive use of AI will be a new word, a phenomenon of massive mediocratization of people, because people don't want to think, and that is a problem. So we have to avoid that. We have to think, we have to create our inner reflection, to produce an impact in our life, in the life of the people around us. Don't forget the new term, massive mediocratization of people. That is the perspective. We have to take care about that.
I think we're circling back to my previous remarks about fear. And maybe pop culture will be a good reference for this. Have you seen the new Dune movie? The first one. I say new because it's kind of recent, but it's based on a book. It's science fiction. There were machines, and there's humans exploring the galaxy, and there's this Dune. So there's a great technological advance, highly advanced society, and there are machines that are sentient. They are like us now. They're conscious about themselves. So there is a war. There is actually a holy war, and the humans win, and they eradicate all thinking machines. And the machines are banned. It's illegal for a machine to be a thinking machine. And this historical aspect about the movie is based on fear and discrimination. It's a reflection of our times, because in some places of the world, there is discrimination based on the color of your skin, your ethnical origin and whatnot. There is violence because of this. And not too long ago, in places like South Africa, there was a terrible time there because of fear. And if there are to be consequences to AI, those consequences we wish to be realistically thought of. AI cannot take over nuclear weapons. It cannot do some things. The ones that are available to you have safeguards. You cannot actually get AI to tell you how to build an explosive device yet, but is in the interest of many governments to monopolize this information. And believe it or not, there is AI. We don't know the capacities that are under the government control. So, of course, think of Google Earth. Google Earth could give you the coordinates of any place in the world, but it has a mistake on purpose. So you cannot use it to direct a missile to a strategic target. So fear should be based on realistic things, evidence. We should not pay attention to wild expectations about AI. We should be looking at how to use it to improve our lives. And then again, the solution to this paradigm is a socio-cultural approach. You cannot expect a society to make proper use of a tool if there is a lack in critical thinking, if there is a lack in scientific literacy. If you don't even know what the buzz is out there about AI and how it works, of course you'd be fearful if someone told you on the bus that AI now can hear and watch anything you do. Of course you'd be, okay, we should definitely kill all the AI. And guess what? It's happened before. It's happened, literally, it's happened before. Because of ignorance and lack of, knowledge, you fear something and you react with violence. It's definitely a risk if we keep on producing ignorance by choice. You can be ignorant. It's perfectly fine. But if you choose to remain ignorant, that is a moral cost that you impose upon yourself. So the risks, of course, there are, but I don't think they are worthwhile or worries or preoccupations are way too high, given what AI can actually do.
Well, the negative impact comes in our minds. That is what Mr. Lombardo and Soliman have mentioned before. The use of newest and technology is risky for those who don't want to use it, those who don't want to learn how to use them. Because when we learned how to use artificial intelligence, is that you are going to be part of the future. So the quote, I just come with the quote again, that technology won't replace humans. But as you see today, that some technology devices are replacing humans. But those humans who uses technology, who learn to use technology in these days, are those who are replacing those who kept illiterate on technology. So the negative impact in here is not to learn in this one. Of course, I was telling before with someone here that, for example, those who likes being interpreters. So you now Google is getting some devices that some earpods that you can talk to someone in another language, and then you can talk to him or her naturally because you listen your native language, and then you're using artificial intelligence to listen to, so you don't need the language interpreter in there.
Exactly.
So you just work with artificial intelligence. And now we have to use what Professor Juan said. The human intelligence is good here to know or to learn how to use what's coming. You mentioned I like when you started both to talk about fiction. Yeah. In our times, we like to watch a lot of science fiction, and this is true today. This is true. But when we're going to learn in artificial intelligence, not to use just some tips, superficial tips in our business, in our field, is to go deeper on this one, to learn how to use them and to manage them in human benefits. This is.
Oh, yeah, I want to add something else. And in my personal opinion about the ethical and the value things is something that we cannot miss. We have to keep our values. And one important thing I want to remind you that AI is an amplifier about how or who you are. If you are like this, the AI technology will amplify your values and your thoughts. So in general, what I want to explain is that you are like you are. So the AI will amplify your values. And if you're a cheater, you will be like this all the time, forever and ever.
Yep. Something else is that technology evolves every time. It's changing constantly. We as humans, we need to be changing our mind too, and our way of living too. We need to evolve. Mr. Lombardo shows some crabs which have evolved because of the situation that they're facing. Yes, the ecological situation. Then we have to evolve too with technology. Technology comes not to stop. Yes, technology comes to be with us.
Thank you, Professor, for your interesting words. Now is the time for the certificates with both Professor Simp Cruv Up, Professor Miguel de Leon, and Professor Nadia for the certificate. Please, Professor Gonzalo. Professor Juan.
But Mari, don't you think this is a good scenario where one talks about what's coming? Is Cruv promoting this or what have you seen so far?
Well, what else would they be doing if they were not here? We should compare the value of this experience versus what they'd be doing. Yes. Yeah.
Again, we wish you not taking seriously, a feature of the technology that can work. Okay.
Before we go, there is something for the 10,100 people.
You get a